Well, good morning, friends, and I am really glad you're here. I've been thinking about being here for this week, but I feel among friends, and I know that we've gone here about 20 years, and I would have to confess to you that I am not who I was 20 years ago. Hurt and pain have shaped me. So today's message is about the eternal God is our refuge, and we'll read that in just a minute. But your losses, I know some of your losses. I don't know about all of them, but I know that loss and pain, being devastated, it happens. And so this morning, let me at least read this verse, and then I'd like to continue. But it's in Deuteronomy 33:21. The eternal God is your refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. So this chapter gives account and record of Moses' blessing to the 12 tribes. It gives record of promises of what God will do, what he will provide, and how he promises to be with them. Have you ever been a receiver of a will? And I'm thinking money, I'm thinking houses, I'm thinking that old table that Grandma had forever, or that hutch, or, her jewelry drawer, or just whatever it would be. Can you remember, you weren't waiting for them to go, but you thought, okay, you've been a receiver of some kind of that they've been holding on to for a long time. Maybe it was a life insurance beneficiary. Maybe it could have been just about anything, but Moses was telling them and reminding them who God is, and that he would be their portion in the future, and that he would be their provider and their sustainer. No matter what comes, no matter what happens, he would be that. I just talked to a friend of mine that I have known for 25 years, and they reminded me of a story in their life that their son, he died in a tragic accident. He had several small children, and everybody was shocked. It was nothing they could have prepared for, and he was gone. He left a wife, he left some small children, and she said that they video recorded the funeral. And she said that they brought the video home that day, and she said the 4-year-old daughter sat and wanted to watch that funeral. And she says, Joe, she didn't just cry. She wept and wept and wept. And she goes, Grandma, I want to watch that again. And she goes, Joe, she wept. And she wept and she wept. And then she said, Grandma, I want to go outside and play now. And that has stuck with me for years. God doesn't stop all sickness. He doesn't stop all heartache. He will stand by you, and he will lead you during the loss and during the hardest times in your life. He will lead you, and he will help you pick up the pieces. Now, it may take a while, but he will stand by you. Now, to me, that's encouraging. I want to share another story with you. Some of you know about this story. Some of you haven't heard many of the details, but my wife of 33 years was very ill last year, 2022. And we celebrated our daughter's wedding that year in April, and her marriage to Daniel. Daniel, I love you. And Sherry mentioned to the weeks previous to this that she seemed overwhelmed and she didn't know what was going on. And at the time, we had no idea what was coming. We had no idea concerning the uncertainty of the days to come. Months went by. November came. It was Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving of this last year. And Sherry was thinking about dinner, thinking about doing dinner, and she thought, maybe we're just going to put it off. I don't feel so great. I don't feel well, and so we were putting it off maybe for a week until she felt better. And we decided to put it off. But she was worse, and she seemed worse, and she'd nap a little and then get better. And me, I just thought, you need some water. And that's a good remedy. I thought she was a little bit dehydrated, and so I thought, you need to eat like I do and drink, and you're going to be fine. And so, but on Monday, November 28th, her speech wasn't really making sense all the time, and I thought, man, you just need water, and I just had no clue. And so we went to the emergency room and sought help, and there was an alert team of doctors, nurses, and they found in an MRI that there was a tennis-size tumor, a brain tumor. And so they did the CAT scan and the MRI, and they found that it was life-threatening. And the emergency room doctor, he came out and he told us, and it was 3 of our 5 kids. There was Natasha, Noella, and Derek, and we were there and very supportive, of course. But the doctor came out and he told us, he goes, I do not have good news. He goes, your wife has a tumor. It's very vascular. It's growing fast. And I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And he goes, I cannot give you any hope. Well, Sherry began arguing, and she said, how do you know this? How do you even know this? Well, she was a little out of it. It wasn't medication. She was having a lot of pressure and so forth in her brain area. But I stood by her there, and I touched her hand, and I touched her face, and I looked down at her laying there. Of course, you think about life. You think about the uncertainty of life. You think about anything could happen. The doctor did not encourage us much. We had no clue what we were facing. They wheeled us up to ICU. They gave some medication for infection, for swelling, for seizures. And I stayed there all night waiting, standing. I slept in one of those beds. You've seen them before. It's not even a bed. I think it's a torture bed. But I sat there and I laid there and I slept there and I stood there and I watched her breathe. They told us later that she could have stopped breathing at any time in the months previous to this. And I don't know when the church heard about this, but I heard that they heard and they were praying. Tuesday came, and so that was Monday night when they told us all of that. We had a long night. Tuesday came, and whatever medication they were giving her to help with swelling and whatever, it was helping, and they sent us home on Tuesday. But they told us that we were scheduled to see one of the best surgeons Wednesday morning. So we had Tuesday to think and contemplate and wonder what's going to happen. We made it to the appointment with the surgeon, and unbeknown to us, they were already scheduling an emergency surgery for Friday morning. The doctor said, when he talked to us, he goes, I'm going to get you better. Not me, her. And I'm going to help you, and I'm going to get you better. And I guess he knew what he was doing. But our 5 kids, they all made it by that Friday morning for the surgery. The surgeon got there, he came into the room, and you can remember his demeanor. He came in street clothes, and he had some kind of slippery shoes. I don't know who that guy is, but he slid in and he goes, "Good morning." I don't know if he'd been having a long night but the surgeon got there and he came and he says, again, I am here to help you get better. We're going to take away those headaches that you've been having. And for me, I would have to say it was hard to let her go. I thought, I don't know what's going to happen. I feel like I can't be there to defend her and to protect her. And I didn't know what was going to happen. Life for me, I told my kids, life for me seemed like it was coming to a stop. I'd like to report, thank God, she survived the surgery. It was a lot of staples. She had 45 staples from here, I don't know to where, somewhere down here. But she was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. I've thought and wondered how or why God allows all those things to happen. Now, some things, they don't turn out fun and great. Some things, your heart is broken for years. Some things you just can't get over. Some things you can't get away from, and the pain is so deep, it is overwhelming. And I've wondered that. We brought her home Sunday afternoon, just 2 days after the surgery. And so, but before that, our son Derek came, and he stayed Sunday morning, and I went home. And on the way home, I decided to stop at our Sunday school class to see our class and to talk to those that had been part of the people praying. I opened the door to the fireside room over there. I stepped in and I said, "Have I told you lately that I love you?" I looked at each one of them, each one of those people that I've been part of their class for like 18 years. I've heard their hurts and pains, and I've seen devastation in their lives, and I've known some of the things. So people began to bring food. Now, I don't know what your love language is, but there could be more than just those 5. And so so even the promise of food. Now, listen, for me, when I think of food, when I think of the hospital food, I think of, they just don't feed you much here. I don't know. I think they're trying to make you leave or something. And so they would feed Sherry, and I'd look at her and I'd go, "Are you going to eat that?" And she'd go, "Yes." And she goes, "Well, what is that?" And I'd lie a little and I'd say, "That looks like garbage." And then when she didn't eat it, turned her head, I thought, man. And then they brought me a plate, and I thought, man, I get seconds in the hospital. But the church people, whoever you were, and I only know a few, they somehow got together and they brought us food. All 5 of my kids were there. It was amazing. I mean, we waited in the kitchen or in the dining or in the living room, and we'll go, "Are they here yet?" And I'm not kidding, it was so exciting. They brought food. Someone brought food and a bottle of Jim Beam. That was the best 3 days of my life. I have found that the eternal God is my refuge. Have you not found in the deepest heartache and pain in your life, God will be your refuge? I'm reminded that life is fragile, and I'm reminded that outside of God, there is not much hope outside of God. He is the one with whom we have to do. He is the one that made everything, and He is drawing us and funneling us to Himself. And why all the pain at points in time in life, I cannot explain it all. But I know He is good. I know that He cares for me, and I know He cares for you, and that He is drawing you to Himself. Whatever you're facing, the eternal God will be and is a refuge. When life is overwhelming, when it's too much, it can be the loss of a child, it can be the loss of a parent, it can be the loss of a spouse. There's a devastation in the fracture of a marriage and a divorce. You cannot recover, it seems. An illness that you cannot get better, a diagnosis from a doctor that it is a fearful thing looming in your heart and mind. The eternal God is, not maybe, not could be, but is your refuge. If that's not enough, verse 27 says a little more, and underneath are the everlasting arms. And when I think of the arms of God, I think of strength, I think of protection, I think He is capable, the strong arm, but I think of one that brings comfort. I don't really know all you're facing today and all that you have faced. We need to be reminded it's not all God's fault. He allows things to happen. He lets things happen. But He is there to draw us closer to Himself. We need to be reminded of that. Every pain, every hurt, every loss, every problem, He will be your refuge and one that you can go to. And He has those arms that are strong and protecting and comforting. I think of kind of why all of that happens. Why He doesn't stop all of that. And I think I'm reminded that He is going to try His people and encourage us to get serious and to get desperate and to get dependent on Him and to look to Him for guidance and help. And so when you get to the place that you have nothing else, you begin to realize He is enough. He is refining His people. He is getting us to a point that we are getting desperate for Him. And so when that mountain that is too big, you can't see around it, that valley is so dark, it is cold, you feel alone, He is a refuge. But He is refining us to get to a point of real dependence on Him. I want to go there. It's just not fun. I would have to say it is not enjoyable to go through any of those things. But when I think of God and His Word and His plan, He is funneling you and I into a deeper relationship and to be letting go of some of these things that we find so much comfort in. I think He's drawing us. Jackie, would you come? She's going to play a song, and we're going to sing a song just in closing today. The eternal God is your refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. I am glad for that. I want you to be encouraged and blessed and looking up. I pray for a fresh strength in the hearts of your people. You are the eternal God. You have not forgotten, and you know everything. You are the refuge, and I pray, Lord, that you would be the refuge and help us, Lord, to be drawn to you. Bless your people here, each one. I pray for encouragement and strength. The days ahead may not be easy, but Lord, you are our God, and we say yes to your refining fire in our heart. I pray in Jesus' name, amen.